state's saffron despite long-standing regional parties holding sway. Can Bihar be next? Not to forget, it will be the first election in the country following Operation Sindoor. Whether that will be a factor that will give the NDA any edge, that remains to be seen. The high-stakes battle is only a few months away and the tone has already been set in the battleground. The Election Commission has announced an extensive review of the voter list. The opposition has already likened it to a backdoor entry for NRC exercise. But what really rose the temperatures in the arena was a promise, a declaration at the Save Waqf, Save Constitution rally by RJD's Tejashwi Yadav. He has vowed to throw the Waqf Act passed by Parliament into the garbage bin once their alliance comes to power. But how much added value will a heavy pro-Muslim pitch have is the question that the Mahagathbandhan has to look at. Now that an opening salvo has been fired, will the Waqf Act have an effect in Bihar? Or will the opposition have to also broad-base their election campaign? We'll take that and more with our guests in just a bit. First up, let's break down this Waqf row for you. It has surely triggered a war of words in the upcoming election background. The RJD claims that saving Waqf would foil BJP's conspiracy. This is the pitch that they have made. They want voters to collect together behind them on this promise. The BJP says the opposition has now become more Namazwadi than Samajwadi, which is obviously to point out to their pro-Muslim appeasement politics. Furthermore, RJD's promise to throw the act in the garbage has drawn severe backlash, with BJP calling this an attempt to bring in Sharia law instead of the constitution of the country. RJD says it's the only way to fight BJP's communal designs in the state. The BJP says the opposition has become pro-vote. They're not even pro-Muslim when they make these promises. They're actually pro-vote. They only play vote bank politics. They don't really care about Muslims per se. Now, the another controversy that is brewing in the opposition is the opposition versus Election Commission of India war. Remember, this has been brewing in the state of Maharashtra already post-elections, but now ahead of Bihar elections. The Congress, for example, has called the decision to revise electoral rolls in Bihar a devious and dubious move to willfully exclude voters from the list. The poll body has also come out to clarify its stand. It says that it needed to act before Bihar elections because some parties questioned the results and alleged voter fraud after Maharashtra. Obviously, the needle points to Congress itself. TMC has likened the decision to NRC exercise, said that it's aimed to target West Bengal as the next state that heads to polls next year. The Election Commission says that the aim of the move is simply to restore the trust of people as well as political parties on electoral rules. CPM, the left party, says it's a deliberate tactic to delete voters who are unable to provide documents. The poll body has, however, assured that the decision is in accordance with Article 326 that assures adult suffrage. Here is a reminder of how parties fared last time when it came to the Bihar elections. This as we delve into the debate of what really will work in Bihar this time around. Now, in 2020, the NDA surprisingly was the winning Gathbandhan. It won 125 seats out of 243, 74 of those backed by the BJP, 43 by the JDU. The BJP, of course, has maintained as itself as the bigger brother of this alliance. The Mahagathbandhan, on the other hand, managed to win 110 seats. RJD was the single largest party, both in terms of winning 75 seats, but also in terms of vote share. The Congress at a paltry 19, others won 8. So, with RJD's result in the last election, can it expand further from here? That's really the big question. It's the big challenger to the alliance in power today. So, with this opening salvo of the Waqf Board or the Waqf Act promise that RJD chief has made, will this have an effect on ground in Bihar? That and more coming up with our guests.
इलेक्शन कमीशन इस पर हमारे रिप्रेजेंटेटिव में गौर करे, किसी भी जेन्युइन इंडियन का नाम मिस ना हो, वोटर्स को अपना वोट मिले डालने के लिए, वरना तो बड़ा मुश्किल हो जाएगा ये।
laws passed in the parliament can definitely be overruled by parliament.
कौन सी माइनॉरिटी का वोट बैंक हल्का नजर आ रहा है और किसका भारी नजर आ रहा है, तब मुल्ला मौलवियों के आगे नतमस्तक होके समाजवाद को मुल्ला मौलवियों के आगे नतमस्तक होने वाले नमाजवाद में कन्वर्ट कर देना।
Let's go across to our guest joining us. Radhika Khera, spokesperson of the BJP, will be with us in just a bit. Dr. Tejashwi Yadav from the RJD, Nishant Anand from the Congress Party joining us. Professor Sanjay Kumar, psephologist, co-director CSDS, also with us. Dr. Tejashwi Yadav, let me begin with you. This promise that Tejashwi Yadav has made as far as the Waqf Act is concerned, isn't it effectively fooling the public, the Muslim voters of the state? Because even if you do come to power in Bihar, you cannot change the act. It has been passed by Parliament.
See, as people who are in the ruling party, they may believe that Tejashwi Yadav is trying to fool the minority section of the country, but this is not so. Tejashwi Yadav has long experience. Lalu Prasad Yadav, I will say, is a walking encyclopedia of political experience. So whatever Tejashwi Yadav is saying is bound to happen. It's true. We stand here for social justice. We stand for the rights of the minority. We stand for the rights of the SC, ST. And of course, we are going to work it out in such a manner that the Waqf bill that the ruling party is talking about, there has to be amendment. There has to be changes. The ruling party is trying to fool the Muslims by saying whatever they have to say, but the fact remains that Tejashwi Yadav stands for social justice, and he's going to take this back.
No, your opposition.
We are going to fight for this.
Dr. Yadav, your opposition to the Waqf Act aside, a state government, power in a state government changing has no bearing on the Waqf Act that has been passed by Parliament. That's a reality. Don't you think the public of Bihar, Biharis deserve, even Muslim Biharis deserve better promises, something that can be delivered by the government if it is going to be your government?
What did Tejashwi Yadav say? He said, once we are in power, obviously, which that means at state level and center level.
No, but he's pitching, he's campaigning
once
for,
we are in power.
Ma'am, he's campaigning for Bihar elections. He's not campaigning for the next general elections. Those are in 2029.
Of course, this is the state election, but soon, just after the state elections are over, maybe 3.5 years later, we'll be seeing Lok Sabha elections. So once we have a government at the state level, at the center level, of course, whatever Tejashwi Yadav is saying will turn out to be true.
Okay, I have Radhika Khera from the BJP also with us. Radhika Khera, this is a commitment. That's what the RJD is saying. This is a commitment to the principles that they stand for. Radhika, can you hear me? I don't think Radhika can hear me. Radhika, can you hear me? No. Let's figure that out. Let me go across to my guest from the Congress Party. Nishant Anand, how does the Congress feel? I mean, the Congress Party did oppose the Waqf Act. There were opposition to it. There were debates on it. It has been passed. And, you know, you can debate the pros and cons as much as you can. There's a legal challenge to the act in the Supreme Court as well. And Congress members have put their weight behind it. But that doesn't mean that a state election should come down to what is a law passed by Parliament. This has been attempted in the past. But is this fair politics?
Hi, good evening to everybody. See, I'll start by saying Pradhan Mantri Modi ji clearly stated, if we remember in 2014, that Bihar should be given a special category, which has not been done. Now, in this Union Budget 2025, this was called as Bihar Budget. But most of the projects are stuck at this moment. See, I want to speak about the last 11 years.
Sir, I'll come to
what
that.
Has happened?
Nishant Anand, I'll come to that. We will discuss about what will work in Bihar or not. But as the alliance partner of the RJD, what do you make of this promise and this spotlight coming back into the to the Muslim electorate by making promises that a state government cannot fulfill?
I think this is in the court,
Yes,
and our senior leaders have already
I can
answered. What I was trying to mention is the key points in Bihar elections. Still today, Bihar is the poorest state in India. Till today, Bihar ranks number 2 in India in crime, and in Niti Aayog, Bihar ranks the last 6 hospitals per bed in 1 lakh people. 10 bridges collapsed in 15 days as they were inaugurated. Not a single expressway, not a single international airport in Bihar. See, today, these are the issues. Today, now they have launched the Election Commission will make new voters in 28 days, which has long terms and conditions. How will they be fulfilled? Are they going to again misuse Election Commission and create wrong, mislead voters and win elections like they have done in Haryana and Maharashtra? One last thing. US visit. Pradhan Mantri Modi ji has visited US for 50 times, but he has not visited Bihar until this year. 20 visits in Bihar before the elections in 2014 to 2020, but not a single visit in Bihar. They
What are you
promised
saying? He
about this.
visited Bihar already in
No,
the
he has visited
anticipation
now
of the
this year.
election season?
Correct. This year, because the election has started in Bihar.
Okay,
but
you're
he has
saying this
not
year, but
visited.
not in the years before this. Okay.
Not this. From the last 4 years, he has not visited. Modi ji clearly said, "कितने करोड़ चाहिए? 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000." Not a single thing has been done which they promised.
All
As
right,
I
let me
said,
just go
number
issue
one.
by issue. There is, of course, the electoral roll issue. I'll come to that on that in just a bit. But Radhika Kera, spokesperson of the BJP, is finally through with us. Radhika Kera, Dr. Yadav of the RJD says that this is a commitment that they have as far as opposing Waqf Act is concerned. But the promise that Tejashwi Yadav is making is more a long-term promise when they come into power both in the state and in the after the next general elections at the center.
Shivani, am I audible? No?
Yes, go ahead.
Good evening to everyone. There is a very famous kahawat in Hindi, na no man tel hoga na radha nachegi. So whatever Tejashwi Yadav might be saying, they are never going to come into power. Why? Because Bihar will not tolerate religion being used as a political tool. The recent remarks that we've seen by Tejashwi Yadav at Patna's Gandhi Maidan calling for Waqf Amendment Bill to be thrown into the dustbin are exposing a dangerous disregard for the constitutional process. This is a bill which has been passed by the parliament, supported by 6 High Court judgments and currently under the Supreme Court review. By opposing it, Mr. Yadav and his alliance parties align themselves with the history of appeasement politics that places the Sharia above the constitution, as we have seen during the Shah Bano case under the Congress. How, what they have to respect they have towards the constitutional process, towards the court, we have been seeing that time and again from their alliance partners. Now, Tejashwi Yadav's statement is just not about the bill. It's about using, like I said, religion as a political tool to polarize Bihar. He claims to fight for minority rights, but ignores how the Waqf system has been monopolized by a privileged few, denying any benefits to the truly marginalized. And in this entire process, there was a time when his father, his mother were chief ministers of Bihar. What did they do for Bihar's Muslims that they did not have to go through all this today? We have seen how, I'll give you an example of Chhattisgarh. In Chhattisgarh, there is this place called Bilaspur, where some properties owned by the Waqf, they were getting 5 rupees, 20 rupees, till the time our government came into power again right now. Now, ever since our government has come into power and we are ensuring certain things, the rent that those people are getting is now 15,000, 20,000. That has been used to build schools over there. And lots of other things are being done.
So you are saying that this is a appeasement-backed opposition to the bill, not on the merits of the bill.
Okay. It is a pledge to discard the bill if the government comes to power and attempt to manipulate the sentiments ahead of the election to get particular vote bank by sidelining the real issues of development and
Dr.
social
Yadav,
justice.
that's
That is
exactly
what
the
they've been
question
doing.
that will come to the RJD, the one that I'm asking to you. This promise cannot be fulfilled. The RJD would be better placed to make promises to the Muslim community of Bihar that you can actually fulfill.
See, first I'd like to answer to the queries put forward by the BJP spokesperson. She was saying that RJD speaks about religion. But let me remind you, it's BJP who's always talking about caste and religion. We are the ones who believe in social justice. They are the one who's always talking about temples and mosques and churches and gurudwaras. We talk about samajik nyaya, as you call it in Hindi, and social justice in English. So we are the ones who talk about social justice, and we want the upliftment of all caste and religion, not just Hindutva, as has been the policy of the BJP. And second thing that I would like to say, we have full faith in our constitution, and we are worried about constitution lest BJP comes into power in majority they may probably make their own changes. What were they saying before Lok Sabha election? Ab ki baar 400 par, which meant that संविधान को बदलना है, constitution को बदलना है. We have always been against changing the constitution. We have full faith and confidence in Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar, but the BJP are the ones who want to change the constitution.
Yes, very quickly, Ms. Khera, please respond. Then I have to go to Professor Sanjay Kumar as well. Ms. Khera,
I don't know. Is the RJD spokesperson suffering from selective amnesia, or she does not come well read? Madam, how many times has the constitution been altered by the Congress-ruled governments, whether it was under Jawaharlal Nehru ji, Indira Gandhi ji or Rajiv Gandhi ji? Do you know the number of times? And you are in alliance for years and years with the same party. They are the ones who actually turned around the Shah Bano case. They don't even respect the court orders. And you're talking about that, no, we don't believe in appeasement. You are in alliance with them. They are your leaders. Rahul Gandhi is the leader of your alliance and you are working under him. And you're talking about that you respect the constitution. If you respected the constitution, and if you're forgetting, like I said, you have selective amnesia, because when the constitution was disrespected and emergency was declared, Mr. Lalu Prasad Yadav, your main head of the party, named his own daughter Misa to remind him of the law which put in hundreds and lakhs of people without anything. And no, why not? That's a fact. Misa is a name that you live with every day. I did not interrupt. I'm sorry, this is not the way. Can I please complete what I'm saying? This is not a fish market, man. Let me complete what I'm saying.
Can you just come back? Can you just come back to the subject? Just hold on. Just hold on.
The fact that you are turning this debate into a personal attack. We are taking a political issue. Please stand on your... Please discuss this political issue.
Okay. Dr. Yadav, just hold on for 30 seconds. Yes, Ms. Khera, please finish. Please finish.
Again, I'm going to say, you have...
Shefali, no, please stop interrupting in between. This is why you people never come to power, and you've been out of power for 18 years in Bihar and not any chance of coming back again.
Okay, let's not do this. I request all of you to please allow the other participants to have their say. Dr. Yadav, please, I request you not to speak over the others. Ms. Khera, please finish.
RJD's alliance partner themselves also does not believe in them. We've seen how Rahul Gandhi has come up and said that the survey that was done, the caste survey that was done in Bihar was absolutely wrong. So what Tejashwi Yadav is doing, his own alliance partner, his own alliance leader does not believe in him. Having said that, I will repeat it again. What has changed from emergency to today? When the same Lalu Prasad Yadav led RJD has named his own daughter, Misa. He lives with that name every day to remind him of atrocities.
That's fine. It's 50 years since they can be in alliance with the Congress party of the day. That doesn't make any sense. Anyways, I want to go across to...
Why does not it make sense, ma'am? This party is Congress.
You have made alliances as BJP with parties you haven't seen eye to eye in 20 years ago or 30 years ago. But that's not what we're discussing. Radhika, that's not what we're discussing today. Professor Sanjay Kumar, I want to come to you.
Shivani, every time on a debate, when I'm talking, you interrupt. And if somebody interrupts in between, I have to stand up for it. And you will come and say, this is not what we are discussing. Madam, this is what we are discussing.
But Radhika, you had your say. You made your point. Let me move on now.
The constitution by the RJD.
Okay.
And the constitution was disrespected by the Congress. It holds true. If you name your daughter Misa and then you are again disrespecting
Who's talking about Apki Baar?
I have to go on from this. Just leave them. Professor Sanjay Kumar, I'm coming to you on the moot point that we're discussing today. The RJD, wow. First of all, I want to understand from you, because you conduct these surveys across communities, and I'm going to quote one of the data that you have published, which is that 76% of Muslims voted for the Mahagathbandhan. They already get majority of the Yadav vote. How much more benefit do you think such a strong pro-Muslim Waqf Act pitch is going to get the RJD or the Congress if they go on this line in these elections?
See, for a very long time, we have been talking about RJD as a, party of the MY, Muslim and Yadavs. So if RJD has to emerge strong in the forthcoming assembly election, they need to keep a stronghold among the traditional supporters, which is the Yadavs and the Muslim. I don't think that they are fearing that there would be any erosion in the Muslim and the Yadav vote. Yes, there could be some erosion in the Muslim vote depending upon how AIM decide to contest and how Prashant Kishore does in the elections. But I think the whole effort is to keep the flock together, because they need to keep their core supporters together. And in order to pose a serious challenge to the NDA, they need support from other communities. So I think they want to send out a message right at the beginning that this is the party which is going to champion the
Muslim
cause
cause
of the Muslims. And this is a message they are trying to send out.
But I want to ask you, in your interactions with voters today, let's say we talk about the last 20 years where there is more information and more first-hand information available. Do you think the Muslim voter is going to be swayed by the fact that he's talking about the Waqf Act and binning it? Or are they going to be aware that this is purely sentimental and nothing else?
I'm not saying if a very large number of Muslims are likely to vote for RJD only and only because they would get swayed away by this issue, or they would believe that even if it is passed by the central government, the state government has a power not to implement. But I think first, it is very clear nationally that Muslims tend to vote en bloc for a party which is all set to challenge the BJP. So what is the political equation in Bihar? The political equation is very clear. That on one side it is NDA, which is BJP, JDU and various other parties. And the main challenger is the RJD and Congress alliance, along with other political parties. So they have no option in a way.
Yeah.
So the main aim is to defeat the BJP or challenge the BJP. So I'm not saying that they will get swayed away by the promise of RJD that they will not implement the Waqf Act, and this is the only issue on which they will get mobilized. But that will play a smaller role in other issues.
But if the RJD Congress combine is already the de facto choice of the Muslim voters in Bihar, what value add a promise like this will do? Or could it also be counterproductive in what we call, reverse polarization?
No, reverse polarization, whether it is the issue of Waqf Act or not, reverse polarization is taking place if you look at the last 10-15 years, because if you see one community polarizing in favor of one party or the alliance in such a big way, so the opponent, which is the NDA in this case, opponent means the party which is eyeing for the Hindu vote. So they naturally send out a message that look how Muslims have been voted.
Right.
So in order to pose a challenge to the Muslim vote, in order to pose a challenge to your rivals, you need to keep united, you need to remain united. So counter polarization also takes place, not at the state level, but at least at the constituency level. In constituencies where Muslim vote is to the tune of say 25 to 35%. So you see a massive counter polarization in these constituencies.
Right. Mr. Anand, I'm coming back to you. Once again, the question is, on this promise being made, is the Congress party nervous that the entire election campaign in opposition to BJP will become just Hindu-Muslim? Shouldn't the opposition also look at broad-basing their issues? What about development, the issue that you were talking about? RJD and Congress should be championing those causes, right? If that is what ails Bihar.
The Congress party is not scared or not the fake promises of BJP. As I clearly mentioned, what promises in 2014, Pradhan Mantri Modi ji has given has not been fulfilled by today. If we talk about health sector, if we talk about education, universities or express highways, nothing has been started or done. Congress party talks about the work we have promised in our states and we are going to do it for Bihar. Today, BJP has a government in 21 states in India, but they do not have a single work to tell. Right now, Ms. Khera end up abusing and saying wrong things about the other spokesperson. That's what BJP ministers do. That's what the Pradhan Mantri does. They do not have any work to show and get the vote. They come into
Radhika, I'm coming to you. Just hold on, I'm coming to you.
They end up into manipulation and using abusive words. Now she's saying that there are other spokespersons going to amnesia. Today the nation wants to know what is Modi ji is going through. What health problem is Modi ji is going through. This overconfidence and misbehavior of BJP spokesperson should not be allowed.
Okay. Nishant, can I just come back to the subject? I don't want this to descend into personal attacks on each other. That doesn't really help. That doesn't really help the viewers. It doesn't help people who want to hear your party stand. Nishant, I want to come to the issue of the electoral roll. I want to come to the issue of the electoral roll. The Congress party has a problem post-elections on electoral rolls in Maharashtra. Now that the ECI is saying there is a system provided that every 20 years you can do an extensive review of the electoral rolls and we want to do it for Bihar, again you have a problem. You cannot have it both ways, right?
Let me answer, okay? We all understand this, but let me make this understand to the viewers. For last 20 years, ECI was not able to do this. Now they want to do it in 28 days. They have given to the people to complete the documents and get the voters. Now we need to understand we're talking about Bihar, where the crime rate and the flood which has happened. We need to analyze how it was, why they are doing it now. See,
Okay.
are they going to manipulate again like Maharashtra, like Haryana? See, we all understand BJP cannot take a vote according to their word, according to the government they have in 21 states. Last line.
But
they
isn't
have
this
created
unfair to say,
last
are
line.
they going to manipulate like Maharashtra and Haryana? You're speaking of it as if it's a fact. It's an allegation, Mr. Nishant Anand, and Congress hasn't been able to prove it. There has to be some responsibility with which you talk about the electoral process in India.
Let me answer. Then 10 seconds. Today, do you think is anything to prove against BJP? Is it easy for us to do it? Congress is the only party who can look into the eye of Modi, and we're saying they have manipulated.
That's politics. You're
and
talking
they are
about the
doing.
election commission here. Nishant Anand, the
Correct.
question that will be
But
raised
we-
is, Congress went to town just last year when it won 99 seats in the general elections. It touted it as a victory. How did that happen if election commission was so biased? How did you win in Telangana, in Karnataka? You have to have some respect
me
for the
answer.
process.
No, let me
even
answer.
even
You
your
have a
alliance
good
partners in
question.
Jammu and Kashmir,
Ma'am.
for example, Omar Abdullah is reminding you that you cannot, cry when you don't win and accept the results that are your wins.
No, you're wrong, ma'am. We are talking about state election, number one. We are not talking about Lok Sabha election
So
right
you
now.
won
So we
Telangana,
can-
right?
No, correct, ma'am. It is good. It is very nice to give something. As I said, they have 21 states, the government is in. And we are blaming with the facts in Maharashtra and Haryana. 25 lakh voters were increased in 5 months, which were not done in the last 15
It
years.
was 41
So,
lakhs, actually. It wasn't 25
okay.
lakhs. The
Now,
Election Commission
so
has already
41 lakhs,
talked
you
about the
remember it.
data.
So you
It has
remember
already
it.
given all the explanations. I'm sorry, you cannot speak
remember
of it
it,
as a
and it is a
matter of
fact.
fact. It's an allegation that you have made. Please respect the electoral process in the country. Otherwise, you will also, as a party, suffer because of this. Yes,
We
Radhika Khera.
respect- we
Radhika Khera,
respect the election
let her have a
commission.
word now. Let her have a word now. This whole battle over electoral rolls, where is it going?
See, we should not even think or even listen to what the Congress speaks, because right here, Congress.
Yeah, we all
spokesperson
should
Rahul
listen to
Gandhi
Modi
spokesperson,
I can't
right?
have this,
See,
please.
this is not the way.
I can't
Only
have this.
Modi ji,
Please.
we all should.
No,
They-
only Radhika
they
and I,
lied
please.
through their
Only
teeth.
Radhika and I, please.
Thank you. They lied through their teeth by saying, and they said it right in front of you, that I was abusing the previous spokesperson. This is the real face of the Congress. They try to make up this entire drama, this entire narrative, which is not happening. Like he said that we wanted to change the constitution, but someone was saying that 400 par bola. I think the RGT spokesperson said that 400 par bola because we wanted to change the constitution. Here the Congress spokesperson saying that I just abused her. So this just shows what kind of la-la land they live in. Having said that, the claim of RGT, let's come back to the topic, that they stand with all religions, what their spokesperson was saying right now, is a facade which has been exposed by the events at Tejashwi Yadav's rally yesterday. If RJD truly upheld secularism and the constitution, why was the entire narrative centered on appeasement of one community? We saw how calls for Sharia law were taken right on the stage. You have visuals for that. We saw that on your channel itself. And why is the statements that have come from the rally blatantly call for disregarding a bill, like I said, that has been passed by parliament, and instead it is pushing for Sharia law. Sharia law. It is not something which is very simple that Sharia law ke liye push kar diya, then everything is la la land. No. A political party which has ruled Bihar, and we've seen the rule of Lalu Prasad Yadav and Rabri Devi, where there was unlimited crime and how Bihar was taken into poverty.
So that's obviously going to be the
and now today
BJP
calling
speech.
for Sharia, which is a direct affront to India's democratic fabric. How are you respecting the constitution?
Can
This
I
is
ask
not
you
about
though? Can I ask
protecting
you though,
minorities.
Radhika Khera, the feeling that some of the opposition parties, at least in the context of Bihar, are raising that this extensive research is too belated. Don't you think that's a fair question to ask with barely any time before elections have to be announced in Bihar?
I don't think so. Like I said, the opposition parties, they are only worried about their voter bank because they are going to stand exposed. Lots of Bangladeshi votes are going to be cut, and the kind of politics that they wanted. We've seen how Aam Aadmi Party, their alliance partners in Delhi, or the Congress in other states. We saw in Jharkhand, you remember Jharkhand, Ghulam Ahmed Mir, the general secretary of the Congress party, went on to categorically say कि जो बांग्लादेश से लोग आए हुए हैं उनको भी हम सिलेंडर देंगे. That is the level of the Congress appeasement politics and the RJD and their alliance partners, which is why they are actually, वो कहते हैं ना, थर थरा रहे हैं, कांप रहे हैं डर के मारे, because they are going to stand exposed. And when they talk about, bhai, humne kaam nahi kiya, if our India alliance was not working, you guys would not be out of power for 18 years.
Okay.
And when you talk about, and a very correct fact that you've been sitting out at them again and again, they're in Telangana, they're in Karnataka, they're in Himachal. If we were disrespecting the electoral process, we were controlling the election commission, well, let me tell the Congress spokesperson, yeah, they would not be in power.
No,
anyway.
it's not just
we
the
are
Congress.
not Indira Gandhi's party.
TMC is in power continuously in
TMC is
Bengal.
in power.
The DMK
Tamil
is in
Nadu,
power
we have.
in alliance with Congress continuously
Jammu
in
Kashmir.
Tamil
Why would
Nadu.
we give
It's
Jammu
not
Kashmir
fair.
away?
The left is in power in Kerala. It's not fair to say that only in states where you
Exactly.
thought you were going to win and you don't, then something is wrong with the election commission. That's not a fair argument.
Exactly.
But I
No,
want
we
to
are
give
doing it with the
the
facts.
last 30
we are
seconds.
doing it with the facts.
Facts are yet to be proven, sir, on your side.
Correct. So you cannot give a decision.
It's an
So you are
allegation.
not-
It's an
you are-
allegation.
yes,
It's not a
so
fact
you-
just
So you
just
cannot
yet.
support
The court
BJP.
refused-
You
the
cannot
court
support
gave-
BJP.
I'm not supporting the
If
BJP.
it is an
I am saying
allegation,
the
you
election
are.
commission has given out its
court
figures.
actually-
Just now, you quoted 25 lakh voters added in 5
everybody-
months.
Don't forget
Actually,
what
the
the
figure
High
is
Court,
41
Mumbai High
lakhs.
Court said
I know my
exactly
figures.
that.
You corrected
It's
me.
not,
You
it's
corrected
not
me.
an
Yes.
arbitrary
You want to
number
correct
that
me
can be
again?
thrown
You want to
anytime.
correct me again?
Okay,
You have
I have
already
to give
corrected
30
me. You want to
seconds to
correct me
Dr.
again?
Kumar as well.
Today the nation-
Sanjay
today the
Kumar,
nation
do you
knows
think this
how BJP
exercise is needed, or do you think it could be too large an exercise? The extensive review could be too large an exercise at this stage, sir. 30 seconds, sir.
No, too large an exercise at this stage, but also the kind of document which is being asked for. I don't think these are the kind of documents people will be able to produce in a month's time. So too extensive an exercise for a too short a period to be conducted in.
Okay. We'll obviously debate this further, but this is becoming the big issue as far as the Election Commission's decision is concerned. I do thank all of our guests for joining us. Moving on, actor Shefali Jariwala was found dead at her residence on the night of June 27. She was rushed to the hospital by her husband, actor Parag Tyagi, where doctors declared her dead. Now, her death has surely triggered a big debate. Shefali Jariwala was only 42 years old, seemingly healthy, even fit. Her untimely death has shifted the spotlight on so-called anti-aging medicines, skin glow tablets or vitamin supplements, and has once again brought back the debate on why the young in India are suffering cardiac-related deaths increasingly. First up, Mumbai Police sources have said that the actor fainted due to low blood pressure on the day of her death and then was hospitalized. She was consuming anti-aging medicines and was self-medicating without consulting doctors. On the day of her passing, she had consumed stale food and then took some of these medicines. Doctors say self-medication could have triggered a cardiac arrest, which is being seen as the cause of her death. However, with postmortem still awaited, nothing can be deduced for sure just yet. Now, Shefali's story has once again triggered a fear over rising heart diseases in India, particularly amongst the youth. Take a look at this data from Ayushman Bharat scheme, which caters to the poor of the country. Maximum claims under the government's health insurance scheme have been for angioplasty procedures. Over 1,000 crores have been spent on just these surgeries and investigations. Over 1 lakh such surgeries have been done so far, which basically suggests that this is not really a rich problem. Even the middle income or poor income households in India are facing these lifestyle related diseases. In fact, Apollo Hospital's Health of the Nation 2024 survey shows a steep increase in cardiovascular diseases from 380 lakh cases in 2005 to nearly 641 lakh in 2015, a double in 1 decade. The report said in 2019, lifestyle-related risk factors such as unhealthy diet, high blood pressure, high blood sugar, cholesterol, obesity collectively contributed to 27% of the total disease burden, contributing to conditions such as ischemic heart disease and stroke. In 2010, that risk had stood at 21% of total disease burden. Drug sales also tell a story. Cardiac market is the leading segment in the Indian pharma market today with highest sales. This segment has seen a 5-year CAGR of 10%, which indicates a growing impact of lifestyle diseases. Anti-hypertensive drugs contribute to almost 50% of this market and is growing at a steady single-digit rate. But here's the kicker. In a young country like India, the normal age of cardiac complications has come down from earlier 50 to 60 plus year age group to now 30 to 40 age group. So the quick question we're asking today, is there a heart disease epidemic then in India? Why is it hurting the young particularly? Let me first go across to political editor Aman Sharma, who's joining us. You can read more of the story that I mentioned on news18.com, exclusive figures that we've accessed, Aman, and they clearly point out not just to the growing heart disease epidemic, but also to the fact that the demography that it is impacting is changing.
Well, yes, Shivani, these figures, the government figures we are revealing for the first time today, the Ayushman Bharat data, data which is very much authentic government data. Now, Ayushman Bharat scheme of the government caters to nearly 40% of the population in India. So it's a very, very big representative, I would say, of what is the current situation in India when it comes to ailments. When you look at Ayushman Bharat data, since its inception 5 years ago, it shows that the maximum amount of money which has been given in claims under Ayushman Bharat is for cardiac diseases, especially angioplasty. Now, this is a procedure in which stents are put in your heart after an angiography shows that there are severe blockades. So the doctors put a stent in your heart to open up those blockades. This is the procedure under which the government has paid claims worth nearly rupees 1,000 crore. The highest amount, nearly 1 lakh patients have undergone this procedure, and these are mostly poor people. So, this, I would say, misconception amongst many that, heart disease is a disease of the rich or maybe of the middle class. This data completely, exposes that the heart disease is affecting as much the lower class, the poor people, as much as the higher class. If we look at other data which we have gathered, especially the point of sales of medicines, half of the sale of medicines in this country are for cardiovascular diseases. In fact, the people taking these medicines, that age group was earlier mostly 40 to 50. It used to start at 40. Now it's come down to 30. So from 30 years of age, you're seeing many people getting cardiovascular diseases. And that is why it maybe explains, Shivani, this increasing incidence. And we get shocked by that when young people are passing away due to sudden heart attacks. This data is showing that what really the problem is and why heart problems are perhaps the biggest ailment in our country right now.
All right, Aman, thanks a lot for joining us. Let me take this forward with Dr. O.P. Yadav, CEO and Chief Cardiac Surgeon of National Heart Institute, joining us. Dr. Yadav, thanks a lot for your time. I think it would be fair to say that this is no longer anecdotal, that indeed it is a younger demographic set of 30 plus, 40 plus that are getting cardiac diseases and are also dying because of heart attacks or cardiac arrests.
Well, absolutely true. There is no doubt about it. And it has been brought to, public attention more so with the recent epidemic of COVID. But even before COVID, we have been talking about it that approximately 10% of heart attacks in Southeast Asian countries occur in people less than 40 years of age. So definitely this is in epidemic proportions and calls for strict action on the part of government and regulatory bodies.
What's causing this, doctor?
Well, it's a kind of multiple factors. One, our lifestyle has changed. Our sleeping habits have changed, our working habits, that, the culture of upwardly mobile Indian with no family support, always stressed out, odd hours duties and fast food. So we are consuming a lot of simple carbohydrates, a lot of saturated fats, tobacco use and substance abuse has gone up. And then we are also conscious of our body. So sometimes we indulge in over-exercise and do damage to ourselves and consume certain drugs for either looking good, anti-aging, or some such drug which does a lot of harm.
Yeah. Particularly speaking of this Shefali case that has come to light, and there's a pattern here because a lot of people associated with the film or television industry in India, seemingly very fit individuals who have a very strict gymming regimen, who have the best care that they can get, best advice, they're on nutritional diets. They have the luxury, in fact, of making sure that what they're eating is nutritionally very healthy. Why are we seeing these deaths among such individuals?
See, there are multiple causes. What we think is nutritionally good may not actually be nutritionally good. I mean, people who are going to the gym, they take all kinds of energy drinks. And you don't know that they are all laced with excessive amounts of caffeine.
Are you talking about protein supplements? Because I see gymmers taking protein supplements, not so much energy drinks anymore.
Well, even protein supplements, everything, till a point, salt is very nice in food, but beyond a point, the salt becomes an assaulted food. So same thing, till a point, if you take 1 gram per kg body weight as protein, that's perfect. But if you are consuming 3 and 4 grams of protein, then the kidneys can't handle it. And a lot of harms of those things also. So everything should be taken in moderation. And if you are into these kind of, show business or athletes of the highest order, then it must be under medical supervision.
Yeah.
Self-medication is the biggest harm you can do to yourself.
So, this trend on social media, Instagram particularly, there are a lot of doctors and they are verified doctors who give a lot of advice about anti-aging. But they do talk about how you must consult a physician or a doctor yourself before you take even supplements. For example, in Shefali's case, there's this whole talk around supplements now. For anti-aging, people take glutathione these days, they take vitamin C, they take resveratrol, they take CoQ10, L-arginine. I mean, I know 5 drugs that people can take. Is it problematic if you take them in the required amount of dosage, or do you think you should not take any supplements unless you speak to your doctor?
Well, if you really ask me, unless you are incapacitated because of some disease process or you have undergone intestinal surgery, in which case your drugs are, where your vitamins and minerals are not being absorbed and where, supplements may be medically prescribed. Otherwise, a healthy person eating a balanced diet gets so much of minerals and vitamins from the food that you be surprised 70 to 80% of those minerals and vitamins are excreted out of the body because they are not needed by the body.
Yeah.
So when you're popping in pills, that's really assaulting your heart and your body. And I do not subscribe to any form of artificial. One must realize the beauty is in your heart. You should take pride in your structure, whatever you are. But unfortunately, it's easy said than done, I suppose, especially when you are in show business.
Yes. So the other problem, which is of slimming procedures, beautification procedures, changing your body, changing your face, I'm not even getting into that because that's not something that is bothering the ordinary population of the country. That we know is dangerous, but those are usually done under medical supervision. In this case, what can be alarming is if you take supplements, can they impact you? There is a growing fear that because of our diet changing, we don't get the required amount of vitamins and minerals that we need. Therefore, even doctors suggest supplementation. Do you think we should not go for supplementation then?
No, I do not agree. No doctor, if they are giving supplementation, then please pardon me, and I hope my colleagues don't take offense. Today, everything, there is an element of, what shall I say, conflicts of interest.
Right.
When you prescribe a drug, a doctor indirectly may benefit from that. So therefore, it is very important that we should realize that all kinds of these ancillary, antacids, drugs to stimulate your appetite, minerals, vitamins, even things like popping in aspirins on the best breakfast table, putting in anti-cholesterol medicines to lower your cholesterol, all of them, unless specifically indicated, should never be taken.
Okay. So, Doctor, finally, my final comment from you, what would your advice be for the young and mobile? They gym, they exercise, they are careful about what they eat. What else can they do?
Well, first, I will not give an advice to the young. I'll give an advice to slightly, 30 plus who have children. Disease starts in the childhood. In fact, when the baby is in the mother's womb, that's the time when the seeds are sown. And it's only when the child grows up, then you are watering that plant and that blossoms and comes to fruition when you are 30-year-old.
Okay.
So we should look after our children when they are going to the school. And even before that, we get into their habit. The first thing in our Indian culture, when the child is born, give shahad or honey to the child. The first thing we get into the child's mouth is a sweet taste. Simple carbohydrates are the single biggest damaging thing. If there was no wheat, I can tell you 9 out of 10 of cancers, heart attacks, strokes would not have existed.
Okay.
So we should look after our children and our schools.
Then, of course, they will grow up to be healthier adults as well. Yeah. Absolutely. Dr. Yadav, thanks a lot for joining us. Of course, it's a subject that we'll focus very closely on with this death that has come to light. Next up, take a look at this special story on how Indian students worried about new visa norms for US colleges and more issues associated with getting a foreign degree have now an option to get the world's best education right here in India. Suspense continues to loom over the future of Indian students abroad, especially with Donald Trump's administration's ever-changing visa policy norms. There are nearly 1.8 million students abroad, and on an average, an Indian student ends up spending somewhere between $50,000 to $70,000, and the total forex outgo is nearly 70 to 80 billion US. Constant anxiety, financial worries, homesickness. Our students can now leave some of those issues behind and focus on a brighter future right here from the comfort of being at home in India. How? That's because global universities have finally got the go-ahead to open their campuses in India under the new National Education Policy 2020, ushering in a whole new chapter in the history of higher education sector. To talk more about some of these universities and focusing on how ancient and very prestigious British universities are coming to India, I'm joined by Alison Barrett, MBE, Country Director, India British Council. Alison, thanks a lot for speaking to us. We're talking at a time when a new chapter in the Indian education system is all set to start, with foreign universities setting up their campuses, opening their campuses in India. Can you begin by telling me, a lot of these UK universities are amongst those coming to India. How many UK universities have received their letter of intent for opening up their campuses so far?
Hi Shefali, thanks very much for having me today. You're right, it's a really exciting time for UK-India education. So far, 4 UK universities have received a letter of intent to open a campus in India under the University Grants Commission guidelines, and 2 UK universities have received approval to open campuses in Gift City. The University of Southampton was the first UK university to receive approval to set up their campus here in India, and very excitingly, they'll be opening their doors to Indian students in just a few weeks, as their campus will be opening from August 26.
What is the kind of interest that you're noticing in UK universities wanting to open their campuses in India? Traditionally, we've seen that Indian students have preferred to go to the UK, study. In the UK, it seems to be one of their favorite destinations to study in. But what is the excitement in the universities this time around?
It's a really exciting time for education globally. In 2020, there were about 2 million students going abroad to study. After the pandemic, that number had risen to over 6 million, and predictions are there'll be 9 million students who want to study abroad by 2030. But for every 1 student that studies abroad, there are estimates say around 4 or 5 who want to study a UK qualification in their home country. Studying at home makes it more affordable. It means that more female students or mature students can access education. It also means that students can build a global outlook and global skills while remaining rooted in their local community. So it's a really exciting time in terms of access, affordability, and of course the UK has significant expertise in running international campuses around the world.
How would these British universities function in India? Would they have mostly British faculties, international faculties, a mix of both? Will they have Indian faculties, for example?
So the universities operating here in India will be following the University Grants Commission guidelines and regulations. So they will be offering education that will be exactly the same as their host campus. Their degree will be exactly the same in terms of outcomes. And the faculty will be a mix, as we have in the UK, of UK and international faculty. So again, for example, the University of Southampton, the academic provost is from the UK, but they have faculty from all over India, from Malaysia. So it's a real diverse mix, and that's what makes UK education so unique, because it's just incredibly international in its makeup.
What is the kind of interest you have so far gauged from Indian students wanting to get an education in the British universities for these campuses that are now being set up in India? Is there growing awareness and interest in that regard from Indian students?
I think there's been a huge interest from Indian students. The demands here, as we know, is absolutely significantly, one of the biggest countries of demand anywhere in the world. The target of the gross enrolment ratio of 50% by 2035 is driving that demand. And we're seeing a lot of interest from Indian students who want to do their undergraduate or postgraduate studies here at a world-leading UK university. So we're very, very excited to see and to meet those students when the University of Southampton opens in a few months' time.
Apart from the fact that Indian students can now study in India, what are the other short-term or long-term benefits you see with these campuses being set up in India now?
I think there are huge benefits. So the British Council does research into transnational education every year, and we published a report looking at the value of transnational education just recently. And there are benefits in terms of economic growth for local communities. For example, UK universities generate massive employment for the local communities. They contribute to the gross value added economic growth of local communities. The University of Liverpool, for example, in Liverpool employs 1 of 50 people in the local area and contributes about 3% to GDP in Liverpool City. University of Southampton is also predicting that they will be able to support economic growth in the local communities in and around Gurgaon, where their campus is. So there are benefits here in terms of economic growth. There are benefits for the students in that they get the opportunity to build their language skills, to build their international awareness and cultural competence so that they can access international jobs. They will benefit in terms of being able to develop their skills and hone their skills in an environment that's absolutely similar to the UK, and so will feel very culturally similar, but as you said, much more affordable and accessible because it will be right here at home.
Yes, absolutely. I have to ask you, there's a lot of unrest in the mind of Indian students and their families wanting foreign education right now, especially with regard to this ongoing battle over foreign students that is prevailing in US universities. Have you seen a difference in the amount of interest thus in UK universities because of what is happening in the USA?
Well, of course, the UK remains a really welcoming and safe destination for Indian students. We've been delighted to welcome over 166,000 Indian students to the UK in 23-24, and we've seen a real increase in the number of students applying for study visas. So in January this year, we saw a 13% increase in applications for student study visas over and above this time last year. So I think that demonstrates that the UK remains a really welcoming, open, safe and trusted destination for Indian students, and we ensure that they feel very welcome. Our Secretary of State for Education has made that very clear in her speeches recently, and the British Council provides a lot of support for Indian students on their journey, both in terms of advice through our pre-departure briefings and our events that we run across the country, but also we run the UK's Agents Quality Framework, which provides training and support for agents who are also advising Indian students on their international journey. And that Agents Quality Framework has been made mandatory now by the UK government. So I think that demonstrates just how much support the UK provides for Indian students who want to go to the UK.
Absolutely. So clearly USA's loss is turning out to be UK's gain. But coming back to the campuses that are being set up in India, what are the challenges do you think have come up in the setting up of these campuses? How has the British Council, for example, helped in easing out this process for universities?
So the British Council is the lead for education and culture on behalf of the UK here in India.
Yes.
So our role is threefold. We act as a facilitator for policy discussions. We help the UK universities navigate the significantly diverse and massive scale of India, the federal context of education and the different regulations. We provide feedback on regulations and provide opportunities for knowledge exchange between regulators in the UK and India. And we also advise the UK universities on the cultural context, on the education market, and help them really understand the opportunities that they can take advantage of here in India. So we really provide that support every step of the way on their journey.
All right. On that note, Alison Barrett, thanks a lot for joining us, Director of British Council in India. Certainly a huge new chapter for Indian students as far as higher education is concerned. The global universities, some of the most prestigious universities, are going to be right here at our doorstep.
Brought to you by This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Welcome back. Now we are getting a breaking input from the international front. Now Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney says trade talks with US have resumed after Canada rescinded its plan to tax US technology firms. Now this comes after US President Donald Trump suspended trade talks with the neighboring nation over its plan to continue with its tax on US tech firms, which he called a direct and blatant attack on our country. All right, so this is the latest as far as the US and Canada trade talks are concerned. Remember, US, in fact, last time has said that there are not going to be any negotiation with Canada because of the tax that they have put on US technology firms. And now the latest that we are getting to know is that the talks between Canada and US is going to resume. And this has been confirmed by the Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, who says that the trade talks with US have resumed after Canada rescinded its plan to tax US technology firms. Now, this is happening after US President Donald Trump has in fact suspended the trade talks with the neighboring nation over its plan to continue with its tax on US tech firm, which he has called it a direct and blatant attack on the country. I'm now joined by CNN News 18's Akansha Swaroop on this broadcast. Akansha, the talks between US and Canada, which was in fact completely withdrawn by both the sides, is now going to continue again. What is really the conditions on which the talks is going to continue now?
So what we can tell you is that they are going to resume because on Friday, Donald Trump had called off the trade talks. He had said that it was a blatant attack. And remember, this is a digital services tax that you are looking at, which was imposed on all of these US tech firms. And they were supposed to be paying 3% of their business, which was above $20 million per year. And the Canadian Prime Minister and US President now will be resuming trade negotiations because finally Canada has scrapped its digital services tax, which was also to take effect after Sunday. And as we all know, this is in a bid to advance the trade negotiations, which have been stalled after Donald Trump threatened to end these trade talks on Friday. And they are looking to finalize a deal by 21st of July, according to Canada's finance ministry. And it's important to also highlight that the Trumpian tariffs have taken a toll, especially on Canada's economy. And, you know, we've already seen the kind of relations nosediving, especially under the previous Trudeau government. And things seem to have, you know, reached much of a headway after Donald Trump interacted with the Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney during the G7 summit. So it's now, it's being seen as a fresh start. And they could not, both sides, especially Canada, could not have afforded this breakdown in trade talks. And as I said, this was a 3% digital tax which Canada was looking to impose on $20 million in a calendar year. But this was also a move by Canada to sort of reciprocate the Trumpian tariffs. But seems that it's been withdrawn.
All right. Many thanks, Akansha, for bringing us that context. And with that, we're going to slip into a short break. More news and update on the other side. Stay tuned.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Welcome back. Now we are getting a breaking input from the international front. Now Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney says trade talks with US have resumed after Canada rescinded its plan to tax US technology firms. Now this comes after US President Donald Trump suspended trade talks with the neighboring nation over its plan to continue with its tax on US tech firms, which he called a direct and blatant attack on our country. All right, so this is the latest as far as the US and Canada trade talks are concerned. Remember, US, in fact, last time has said that
Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. I'm Anand Narsimhan. Within a span of less than a year, 10 months approximately, Kolkata has witnessed two shocking rape cases, one involving a medical student of the R.G. Kaur Medical College who was raped and killed last August, and the latest being the gang rape of a student of South Kolkata Law College. The spotlight yet again on the lack of security and the state of law and order in the city of joy, which now critics are saying has become the city of bhoy or fear, city of fear. The four-member fact-finding team formed by the BJP that arrived at the city earlier in the day attempted to visit the college. However, they were stopped outside the premises by the police. Barricades were put up outside the premises as the BJP leaders attempted to enter the campus. Sources in the administration told CNN News 18 that the BJP's fact